Welcome. Hi, T.
Hi, Eve. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, and thank you for taking the time to review this video. We are hopeful that it will answer some of your questions, and if it does not, you'll know where to find us. Um, so before we get started, um, why don't we just take a moment to pause and to ground ourselves in the way that you do for you. And for some people, that might be just feeling your feet on the ground, knowing that the floor that our feet are upon is connected to the earth beneath us. And feeling the support of maybe whatever we're physically leaning into. I also like to imagine that there are maybe two hands at my back, like one on each side, just holding me and just remembering um, in all the ways that we are not alone and that we are truly held. And so, together, how about if we just take a couple of deep breaths, in your own time? Maybe inhaling through your nose if that is accessible to you, and exhaling through your mouth. And sometimes an audible sigh is nice, it feels good to the body. And maybe one more time. Ah, I don't know, three's a charm. One more time. Yes. Ah. All right, so thank you and welcome to the Opportunity Fund Grant Making Information Session. T.
Yeah, thank you. I always need that breath. I am Tiffany or T, either one is great. Program officer / operations here at Opportunity Fund. And we've met Yvette, Eve, and Jay Goodman is our other colleague, team member, collaborator, all the things. Be in touch with any of us anytime. Anytime we sort of gather, even if it's virtually or even in a video, we just like to acknowledge some important things. This particular acknowledgement, the Fund for Operations Now kind of put out there, and so we adapted it to say we are gathered here today on stolen land, benefiting from the wealth of a nation built by stolen people. We assert our commitment to seeing these wrongs righted, this wealth redistributed, this culture shifted, and all beings thriving. That's part of our work. We know it's part of your work. And then just to name, Opportunity Fund is located in Pittsburgh, and some people that have been part of this land for many centuries are the Medina and the Hopewell and the Monongahela and the Osage and the Seneca and the Lenape and the Shawnee and the Mingo. Many of those people are still here. We're here, and we honor all of them. Eve, I'll pass to you.
Thank you. And just a little bit about the history of Opportunity Fund to date. The fund was established in 2015. Jerry Kay is our benefactor. And upon her death, it was a way to continue the work she did in the world. And so Opportunity Fund aims to be in relationship with grantees who are, I don't know, stewards of social and economic justice, also artists. So our areas of our funding areas are the arts and social and economic justice. And so it started out as a family foundation and it remains a family foundation. However, the board has expanded to community members in addition to the two board members who are family members to Jerry Kay.
So who can apply to this entity, the Opportunity Fund. So as a foundation, we mostly can accept applications from nonprofit organizations, so that 501c3 tax exemption code. And then we also accept projects or programs or groups that are fiscally sponsored, and so that they have a nonprofit that is fiscally sponsoring their work. And just a few notes about that is it must be a U.S. based fiscal sponsor, and it's a bit of a deeper relationship than just like passing through money. The fiscal sponsor is really kind of responsible for the application and the funding and the reporting. And we just ask that groups that are in that kind of partnership write an agreement together and just attach that if you are invited to full application. And some things to think about there is to just make sure the partnership is really mutual, right? That you understand who is kind of owns the intellectual property, how the work can be shared. Those are some things to think about for fiscal sponsorship agreements.
So I alluded to this just a little bit earlier in talking about the history briefly, but what we fund, we fund arts. And when we say the arts, it's a bit of a niche. We have the performing arts, and our emphasis is on theater, dance, and music, especially classical chamber music and jazz, right? And also presented by small and mid-sized arts organization. And then when we say the visual arts, it has an emphasis on craft, materiality. So you think about glass and ceramics and other types of making as well. Also, um, small to mid-sized organizations. And then social and economic justice expands a little bit. The focus is on racial justice, with Black-led movement work being key to our funding. Also areas like civil liberties, civil rights, with a special interest in Black and LGBTQ plus people and other groups that are impacted by social injustice. And then we have the category of human rights, reproductive freedom. And when we say safety net resources, we're looking at resources that support folks who are in need. And that includes social services, also economic independence, so there may be workforce development, housing, tangible aid, transportation, healthcare. And there's some other areas that come through that surprise us as well that fall into the category.
So the Opportunity Fund has sort of extrapolated some values that they really felt like Jerry Kay had lived, and now they have evolved a bit to really be what the people involved in Opportunity Fund now are moving towards, are holding as sort of a North Star and the foundation's strengths. So the first one is that we focus on the strengths of our partners, and really just coming from that asset-based way of thinking about things and knowing that we all have such gifts to bring to our work, and folks here and of course in the community applying to us as grant partners.
Yeah, and building upon that, we recognize that communities have their own unique values, and we do our best to honor those values.
Mhm. Jerry was extremely progressive, and so the Opportunity Fund just makes no appearance that we're anything but a really progressive entity, and really value that.
Hmm. We invite folks to take risk, but also to do that smartly. Recognizing that the nonprofit organizations, the groups, the entities are really the ones that are taking the risk. The philanthropy is not really taking that big of a risk, but we do honor those who can step into that position to take risk, understanding that sometimes we do not know how things will end up.
Mhm. The next two really sort of center on the arts. So the arts and artists have precious value, and then there's special interest in artists, productions, and arts organizations that are challenging within their discipline of their artistry, that maybe challenge things that are happening in the world. All of that is certainly valued by Opportunity.
Hmm. Also, give to make a big difference. I mean, this can mean many things to many people, and big doesn't have to necessarily mean in quantity, it can also mean in heart. So that's another one of Opportunity Fund's values.
And the idea that diversity and equity make us stronger. There's no doubt that the more people with more perspectives and more lives experiences that are doing all of the things really make the work more effective in all of the ways and really do move the world in the ways it needs to move.
Yeah, and then lastly, what undergirds everything is the understanding that anti-Blackness is central to all forms of injustice, locally, nationally, and globally. So the mindset of seeing things through the lens of pro-Blackness is something that the Opportunity Fund also leans into. It's a value
Absolutely.
that Opportunity Fund leans into.
Sure does. And just to say too, this slideshow kind of live is linked on our website, and you can always be clicking on hyperlinks. So more about our values, kind of a little bit of detail about each, is on our website. So feel free to look more at that. The next part is just kind of naming how our process moves. And so we have 2 grant cycles per year. We are coming into, at this moment, the next one, which is July 15th at midnight. And sometimes when those deadlines fall on the weekend, just know you have a little bit of grace. Like we will, if it falls on a weekend, which it does in this upcoming deadline, know that you've got till Monday midnight to really get it in. But we sort of just keep those deadlines consistent so that folks just kind of can know January 15th, July 15th, those are Opportunity Funds deadlines. Um, so that's the first step, the LOI, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. And then if you're invited to submit a full application after submitting the first piece, that piece would be due September 7th. And then we will have our whole process done for award notifications in early November, perhaps a little earlier, but definitely by November for sure. And you can always check our website and our place where you apply for those grants, that online system, for the exact upcoming deadlines.
It's the process. The process comes in 2 steps. So, step one, as T just mentioned, is the LOI, which we're calling a letter of inquiry, but it's really not a letter. It is a short online application, and we'll say a little bit more about that in a moment. And then, step two, as T just shared, I'm just repeating it. If you're invited to move forward to complete a full application, that just adds additional detail to your LOI. So, there is some additional information that we will ask to learn more about what it is you are proposing to do. We have a note here that most applicants complete both steps, including first-time applicants and past grantees. And this assists us in knowing all of those who have applied, and that they will be reviewed through the panel and board process. Again, you'll learn more about that in just a bit.
Mhm. And two, just so you know, folks that are applying as previous grantees, that if you have a report that you still need to write to us, you now have the option of doing that right within the LOI. And so here's a just quick screenshot of what that looks like, is just the short version, and the kind of pretty simple narratives that are part of the report are just built into the LOI, and you can click the button that will make that show up or not if that doesn't apply to you. You can also, of course, do it in the way that you've done it before, other written final report, or you can get in touch with us to do a conversation where we take some notes and then just kind of work together to finish your final report. So all those options are available to you.
This is always a question, right? How much should I ask for? So most grants that are awarded by Opportunity Fund that are given fall really at 10,000 or 15,000 or somewhere within that range, right? And the average amount of grants are about 13.5. We have given grants as low as 1,000. However, please know that a grant in the amount of $20,000 is a big grant for us. And if that is something you wish to apply for, we're not saying you cannot. We just invite you to be in contact with us before you do so. Just have a conversation. Our website shows the grants that are given to date. And so you can look at the list. You go to under grants, under the grants tab, you can see all of the grants that we have awarded to date. And just to see, perhaps my project, my idea, my organization fits well within this if you've never applied to Opportunity Fund before. And again, as T said, if you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to us to have a conversation.
Great. And so as I was a grant writer for a long, long time, I always just liked to sort of know the context I was working in for each entity, and so just know that as much as we wish they were not, our grant cycles are competitive. And so here's just a couple of examples of the two most recent cycles to give you that sense. So last year, at the end of the year, that second cycle, we were able to award about 1.4 million in grants, including some of those to be given out in future years as multi-year grants with multiple payments. And 79 grants were funded, and those LOIs that first came in were 145. So there were quite a few more that we couldn't fund, even though we wish we could. And the total amount of money requested was about 2.3 million. So really only a portion of that were we able to say yes to. And then this first cycle in 2023 was a little bit tighter even. And so we were able to award just over a million, including some to be given in future years. And we were able to give out 62 grants out of the 152 LOIs we received. So that just gives you a sense. We so wish we could fund everyone, and almost everyone that applies is so worthy of that. But we can't every cycle, and know that if you get, we can't fund you this cycle, that is certainly almost always not a no forever. And there's definitely a chance to still be in relationship and figure out if it makes sense in the future.
So what's new in 2023? We're excited to share that you do have an option to complete some of the LOI narratives as a video, right? And again, the video does not need to be a huge production. We would like to see you. We would. You don't have to rent lights for that to happen. Natural light is perfect. Even if we can't see you, we do need to hear you. And so if you could minimize whatever background noise is around, but please try, and I know it's difficult with a camera in front of you, to speak as if you're talking to a friend who knows little or nothing about the work you do. You're allowed about 3 minutes to share a bit about your project, and brief is definitely so much better. So here is what it looks like. T can talk you through this option to submit a video in our system.
Yeah, this is just the quick screenshot of what it looks like in our application, just noting that it's about 2 to 3 minutes, and a little bit more guidance, that it's a brief snapshot of your organization, and that if it is applying for program or project support, to just let us know what that is, and what you want to do or continue to do with the help of these funds, and why you do it. Really as simple as that. And then we do ask you to share that as a link. So you could upload it to YouTube, you could share it in Google Docs, you could share a Zoom link, whatever works for you, whatever is simple. We really want you to have access to it. And if you really want to do this and you're struggling, let us know. There's also a link right in the application for some tips on creating your video. Click there. Feel free to email us or use those resources.
I love seeing those videos.
Me too.
They're so much fun. They are so much fun to watch. Here are some general tips, right, to help guide you through this process. Make sure your application includes context and background, right, for people who may be learning about your work for the very first time, which is us. Full applications, so are reviewed by panels of community and board members, and the board members, I'm sorry, make the final funding recommendations to the board of directors. So we invite you to, lost my train of thought. We might have to cut this part.
It's fine. I
Yeah.
think the idea is, right, that sometimes folks have really great, strong relationships with some of us on staff, but
Yes.
we're not the only ones you're talking to. You're talking to panelists who might not know anything, some of our board members who might not know your work. So to really think about talking beyond those of us that you might know on Opportunity Fund's team, to some other folks when you're writing your application or talking into your video.
And please know that the website is an awesome resource. So, and we keep it updated. So go to the website at any time to look for any updated information around your application or any materials that, or new dates that may be applicable to you. And as T just said, any questions at all, just set up a meeting and discuss your idea with us. And see how difficult it is for you to explain, right? See if it's difficult for you to explain, to see if we can understand what it is you're trying to say. And so we can support you and guiding you through the process of making sure you are clear and concise.
Few other tips. We all, in all of the work we do, often have acronyms or vocabulary or things that people don't know. So just assume people don't know. And as much as you can, like, define things, add extra context, that might seem so second nature to you. But just don't assume that others have that same knowledge. Um, and then just know that, if you've received a grant from us in the past and if you've been tremendously successful, which many of you are, you've written a stellar final report, it's just not a guarantee for funding every year. We're still in the wrestling and conversation all the time about how consistent of a funder we can be and how we can still leave space for new things that are starting, for giving folks opportunities, right? As Opportunity Fund is named. So just want you to be really clear and transparent about all of that, and to know that if we ever are really solidly in one place, we will let the community know. But right now we're trying to do all those things. We're trying to do as much consistent support as we can, and we're leaving space for other folks. And so that means you just can't guarantee that we're going to be able to fund you every year.
So this is us, and this is how you contact us. We mentioned Jake earlier, who is so in this space with us, even though he's not present. Our email addresses, reach out to us. This is our office phone number, and then you have the website. So you can review all of the foundations there as well. And again, you can link to any of this information on our website. So please, please, please take a moment to go there.
Indeed. And thanks for listening to us today. We really appreciate it. And good luck. Be